From the shores of Summer Lake in Tigard, Oregon, it's the Portland Timbeers Podcast, a show featuring two guys who love craft beer and Portland Timbers soccer. And now, here are your hosts, Jason and Gary.
Timbeers! I'm Jason.
I'm Gary.
And Gary's wearing beaver colors.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, you are. Either that or it's Halloween.
No. This is red, not orange. Very big distinction.
What?
This is not orange.
It looks like orange in this lighting.
No, this is red.
The way it's glistening off your eyes.
No. I would never wear beaver colors.
Why?
I'm not a Beavers fan.
You're sitting above a beaver flag and you almost
No,
blend right into it.
And you got like beaver stuff on the wall. And
That's Portland Beavers, dude.
Well, is it?
Yeah. Portland Beavers. That's the baseball team that used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, here we are, minding our own business, and then a podcast broke out.
Ooh, boy, did it.
What'd you pull?
Whatever a first beer was.
Mexican hot cocoa.
That explains it all. Way to start it off with a kick.
This is the Brewing Projekt Mexican hot cocoa. It's an imperial stout with chipotle peppers.
Okay. Yep.
Chocolate, cinnamon, and vanilla, sitting at 11%.
So Jason just poisoned Gary. Yeah, it's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
11%.
That's not what I'm worried about. It's the peppers.
How is it?
It's spicy.
Is it nuclear?
It's not nuclear. They did a good job of keeping the spiciness under control.
The chocolate's good.
Yeah, the chocolate's really good. It tames that spiciness.
Ooh, the spice is on the back end.
It's definitely on the back end.
Yowzer. Well, but the chocolate is like
the
crazy.
Chocolate is really good.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that beer. If they would do a version of that beer without the pepper in it, it'd be fantastic.
Well, we are doing a chocolate beer thing tonight, with the exception of one. So I don't think that was planned.
I think they are all chocolate, aren't they?
Nope.
The last one's not?
Last one's not. The last one's called Old Ball Kicker.
No. It's as dark as these chocolate ones is.
That last one is from Skookum, which is who we're doing our interview with tonight.
Yes. Midnight something.
Yeah, it's Shadow Rising.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, 4 beers here tonight. We've got a packed evening for you. Not as packed from the last few weeks with the Legacy series.
Right.
So we've got a interview we recorded back at Hop Fest when we were with Chris Baum over at Varietal. Mm-hmm. Hollis from Skookum showed up, and we got some time with Hollis. So we'll learn about what's going on with Skookum and where he's off to, because he's no longer there.
Correct.
He took off about a month after that interview. So
yep.
We'll connect with him. And then also we have an interview with Art Larrance about Hillsbrew Fest. So,
which is coming up.
Got to get tickets. So, hey, did you know Tim's in Hawaii?
A big shock.
Yeah.
He's either in Hawaii or he's in Disneyland.
Yeah, did you know he's in Hawaii? If you don't know, he'll tell you.
I knew he was in Hawaii because he said something about downloading the last podcast, but Jamie said they could listen to it when they were touring the North Shore.
And then he took pictures of his beer and then telling us he's going scubaing.
Isn't that just nice of him?
Yeah. So, nonstop.
Just rubbing it in.
Rubbing it in. That's Timmy boy. Like I said, he lives a charmed life, man. One day you and I can live that charmed life.
I don't know how she takes so much vacation.
Well, it's good to be king, I guess. So I don't know.
It's crazy.
Yeah, we've got to be kings. She's the king.
Yeah, big time.
All right. Well, let's jump into this. So, Skookum Brewing, up out of Arlington, Washington. Mm-hmm. Been around for a while, and again, we got the chance to sit down with those guys. Let's kick back, crack open a beer, and listen to Hollis from Skookum Brewing. All right, Jason from the Timbeers here. So, again, Fresh Hop Ale Festival weekend. All sorts of guys coming in. All sorts of people coming in, because there's a lot of women brewers, too. So.
Absolutely.
But guys from Skookum here stopped here over at Varietal, so we thought we'd snag some of your time. Thanks, guys, for joining us.
Yes, our pleasure.
Why don't you tell the listeners, first of all, introduce yourselves, and then tell us a little bit about Skookum, where it's located, because you guys are a long ways away from home.
Yeah, I'm Hollis. I'm the head brewer.
And I'm Logan. I'm a sales rep and production worker as well.
So you guys are road tripping on out here to Varietal, sunny side from Arlington, Washington.
Yes. So it's about a 3-hour trip. Nice. Always beautiful.
Yeah.
You know. Cloudy there. Blue skies here. So.
Schlepping beer.
Yep.
Nothing
Yeah.
better.
Yep. Stopped in Ellensburg on the way over and dropped some beer at Pretty Fair. Place downtown that does a great job with great selection all the time. So shout out to Pretty Fair.
So outside of Pretty Fair and outside of Varietal, between here and Arlington, where am I stopping for beer? Where should I stop for beer?
Honestly, I love stopping at Drew Brew at the top of the pass. Beer's great, and it's just so unique. You know, how many breweries can you go to that are right on the top of a mountain pass, and the scenery is amazing. So Drew Brew definitely is one of the ones where, you know, stop over for like a little hangover lager on the way home from Fresh Hop. So
that's what I feel about Brownie R. I mean, Brownie R did something.
Yeah, on 12 there. Yep, exactly.
So what is Skookum known for beer-wise? So
known for hoppy beers and barrel-aged beers. If you want to narrow it down, that's kind of what our shtick is, I think.
Okay.
So whether it's barley wine, stouts, blended barrel-aged beers.
And how big of a brewery? What type of
brewery? It's a 10-barrel system. It's a Century system, which they're no longer fabricating. They were bought out. They were from Alexandria, Ohio, but good equipment. You still see bits of it floating around here and there, you know, throughout nationally. So.
And then distribution. How's distribution work for you guys?
We're just in Washington State right now, so yeah.
And self-distribution?
Self, and we work with a couple distributors. One over on the east side through Spokane. We work with Orcus here and on the west side, and then Logan here does our surrounding counties, and then north of us. And then we work with Walton Beverage that does some of the stuff far out north and west and east that we don't want to spend time driving to. So
cool. And then what about awards? So everybody's in award season. Chris is basking in the glory of
that's freaking sick. Yeah. So yeah, I'm really proud of him. I was really stoked to hear that. Well deserved. We didn't enter anything in GABF. We've come over here and taken the Fresh Hop Trophy for IPA and the Fresh Hop Trophy for Pale, which was the first year we did Temple of Bloom with Chris over at Skookum. We took first place for Pale, which was pretty awesome, especially something that it's like, hey, let's do this, and completely worked. So it was fun to see something like that happen rather than something we've been trying to nail year after year after year, you know. So this year we're going to enter double IPA, so we're hoping for the trifecta. We'll see.
The throwdown is there. I mean, the cool thing about the Washington beer scene, much like the Oregon beer scene, everybody's very, very collective and works together and realizes that we're all in this together to sell beer. And
there's really not like a place. We had talked about this on the way over, like Washington and Oregon. In a way, if you think of Seattle and Portland, it's very isolated. I mean, you'd have to go all the way to California or maybe to Boise to run into the next like large metropolitan area. So it is a sort of everybody knows everybody in a way. Yeah. Unlike the rest of the country, like, you know, where it's just like major city after major city every few hours away. So it does get very close here, where to the point where like small world type stuff.
Well, Oregon and Washington are interesting in that you've got the large metropolitan areas, right?
Yeah.
Separated by other large, like San Francisco.
Yeah.
DC. But then you have a lot of clustering that goes on. In the Yakima, the Valley is one of those clusters.
Yeah.
Bend has its cluster.
Yeah, and then in between there's almost nothing.
And then there's nothing, right? Yeah, and it's interesting in these micro clusters popping up of
definitely
super awesome beer, right?
Yeah.
So collaborations, you talked about collaboration with Chris and the group here. What do you guys do in collaboration-wise? Because that's like
we've done we've done a few beers. We did a barley wine together. What was that, about 2 years ago, year and a half? Oh, God. Yeah. Yeah, okay. I have no concept of time anymore.
Kapow with Old Schoolhouse is like an annual one as well.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
And then we did another like IPA, just kind of, it wasn't a fresh hop. It was just like, hey, let's make a beer together and we used a bunch of local malt, right? With the chitty dank. It was like Link, or was it? It was some Mecca Grain. Oh, okay. Yeah, so we've done a few things, and so. You guys brewed it, we brewed it. Yeah, that's right. We wrote the recipe and collaboratively brewed it on our own system. So that was really fun to compare notes. So.
Good old Mecca Grain. We just had them on and did a bunch of their beers. So they did this crazy beer. If you got a chance, it's totally experimental, but a PB&Y it's called, and it literally tastes like a freaking peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Oh.
Like ridiculous. But outside of great grain. So cool. Well, so anything new on the horizon for Skookum? Like anything happening?
Well, we're rolling into like barrel season, so we've got probably almost 20 plus barrels that we need of different varieties of beer, stout and old ale, and then a coconut brown ale. Yeah, we've got a lot of things to get out of barrels and get in bottles. So we meant to do them, but these last couple of years have just been weird with timing and schedules. And then fresh hop came in, and we're like, okay, everything's fresh hop right now. So
Did our first can conditioned beer.
oh yeah, and we did a can conditioned beer yesterday, so that'll sit in cans, creating natural carbonation for the next 2-3 months. So that'll be interesting.
Can conditioning different than bottle conditioning?
Same thing, different format.
Yeah, I'm just wondering about sugar, right? So
Yep.
So cans only have so much to give,
Yep.
but you're not blowing bottles.
Yeah, we worked with the mobile canner. He's worked with other breweries that do can conditioning, so he went through what they do, leave more headspace than usual to make up for that pressure that's going to build, and things like that. So, and how you store the cans, you don't want them too dense to allow airflow, and even conditioning. So it's some good ideas actually from the mobile canner people that I wouldn't maybe not have thought of. So
Interesting. Good.
Hey, follow-up question there. So as you get busy, and I'm just wondering, how do you guys, and maybe both of you could answer this, determine when's the appropriate amount of time to pull something out of a barrel versus, God, if you get slammed and you find an awesome collab to do, or you're just behind, does it almost sometimes benefit to push it off another 3 months, 6 months?
certainly can't hurt sometimes. Yeah, I mean there is that perfect window. A lot of brewers just, maybe it's kind of an arbitrary number, but it's a year is usually a good saturation time. You've had every season go by, so you get the nice, at least in our facility, we don't have AC, we have heat, but you get these nice temperature fluxes where the barrel expands and contracts, and you know how that works. You take on different flavors, just like storehouses would in Kentucky with their bourbon. They don't insulate them, they just let them go to the elements a lot of the time. So that'll pull different things from the barrel. So a full season is always good. We just canned something that was a blend of 22-month, 14-month, and 10-month stout. So sometimes it's nice to bring in different components where the older stout is way more woody and the newer one is softer and smoother with more of those bourbon hits. So it's always fun. I mean, and then just tasting barrels too. Sometimes they'll just talk to you. Be like, no, that's too hot, or it needs time, or it hasn't taken on enough barrel character. So kind of just being in tune with your cellar. So
Cool. Well, gentlemen, appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Awesome that we got to connect with you. I mean, again, awesome relationships here in Washington. Again, these guys rolled up in their panel van with some beer, and
Yep.
Chris was like, "Yay!" And so you guys are excited. So I'm glad we could steal you away for a few seconds. And
definitely.
Come by the booth tomorrow.
Yeah.
and then-
Come by the Skook booth.
Okay, yeah, for sure. So, yeah, you guys are out at the Ale Festival tomorrow.
Yep.
And,
Yeah, we'll be pouring our collaboration along with a couple fresh hop beers, and then we've got some crazy barrel aged stout just when people get hop burnout. So which usually actually goes over really well, and we blow the keg because people get that. I need something that's not fresh hop for half a second.
Fantastic. Good. Because we bought those darn VIP passes to get in at 4, and I'm like, that's what I need is another hour to get in for free beer.
It's funny because for the VIP, not to drag this on, but we brought one fresh hop beer, but we also brought a really light dry lager for those people that are like, God, I just need something like I need to drink this lager to sober up so I can go drink more fresh hop beer.
Exactly. And I was just like, oh my goodness. So it's not going to be as bad as Dark Arts. We were at Dark Arts.
Oh yeah,
and that was brutal.
Stay on the sidewalk.
Yeah, and
that's a tummy full.
Yeah, wow. He met the Astoria police, so wandering the sidewalks.
Hey, at least you were walking.
Yeah.
I did not get arrested. I did not get a ticket.
Did not, but yeah, so we look forward to seeing you guys. Thanks for the time.
Yeah.
And, Chris, thanks for, again, hosting, man. So awesome beers, awesome place. Again, check out Skookum, check out Varietal, and we'll talk to you guys later.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
All right, we're back. Huge thanks to Hollis and Logan, man. So Skookum Brewing.
Good interview.
Yeah, it was
Really
good.
good interview.
Good. Yeah, I was glad Chris kind of waved them over as they were coming in, and they were obviously there to see Chris, not us.
Exactly. But we did what we normally do. We just kind of bogarted it. Said, hey, you want to get in on this action? Sure.
Well, and so now we're drinking. We'll skip over a couple beers here that we're drinking, come back to them. But we're drinking one of Skookum's beers.
We
one
are.
of Hollis's Pride and Joys.
Yeah.
So this is the Shadow Rising, and this is a huge beer, barrel-aged Imperial Stout, 12%. It's a blend of Imperial Stouts aged in bourbon barrels for 6 to 15 months, finished on toasted coconut, coffee beans, and whole vanilla. And it is
It is
big.
so good.
Yeah. Big beer. Very thick, a lot of bourbon barrel up front.
Yep.
Then it dies down. You get the toasted coconut and then the vanilla.
And it blends perfectly.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever they did it to exquisite perfection. I mean, this beer's amazing.
Very good. So, glad we had this. Again, huge thanks to the guys over at Skookum. So, I was looking it up, and Hollis took off about a month after that interview.
Uh-huh.
And I think Logan went with them, too. And they took off to the East Coast and are at Ever Grain Brewing in Camp Hill, Pennsylvania.
Ever Grain Brewing.
Ever Grain.
Grain.
Yeah,
Okay. And where at?
In
Pennsylvania?
Camp Hill, Pennsylvania, yeah.
Now, didn't he say he was doing that because he had family back there?
I don't remember if he said he had family, but I know he wanted to do something totally different out of the Seattle beer scene.
Yeah.
And that's where they're at. So, but again, Hollis was a huge part of Skookum. I mean, basically took them and put them on the map, and a lot with their milkshake and fresh hop IPAs. He was really proud of those fresh hop IPAs.
Yeah.
And then they had a huge barrel aging program too, and churned out again like Shadow Rising and some of this other stuff. So
very talented brewer.
Yeah, he's been fantastic. He'll do well in Pennsylvania. And we talked. It's kind of like what we talked with South Dakota last week. Picking up and going to South Dakota. Can you pick up from the Pacific Northwest and make your beers translate someplace else?
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I think it really has a lot to do with the beer environment that you're moving into. And if they've never tasted those beers, you kind of have to have a really open audience that they're willing to try those beers. Then they may take off, they may not. But if you don't have that open audience to begin with, you're dead in the water.
Yeah. Yep. Well, again, good beer. Shadow Rising. If you can find a can of that, which there's not many around.
No.
It's fantastic. So
amazing beer. Now I'm regretting drinking mine about a month ago.
And not hanging on to it, huh?
Yeah.
Well,
it's freaking phenomenal.
Well, so what else you drinking, dude? You brought a beer. What'd you bring?
Let's see. I brought a beer by Three Creeks Brewing, and it's their FivePine Chocolate Porter. It's a 6.2% ABV beer. The interesting thing I found out about this one is that they put 2 pounds per barrel of the finest Belgian dark chocolate right into the beer.
Wow.
Which I didn't think that they would actually put the actual chocolate into the beer because of the fats and the rancidness or whatever that you might have to encounter. So it's definitely a feat that they pulled off.
Yeah, they did. It's good. I know they make a 10 pine, which is their double imperial as well. So, and you see that we go over all the time over to the Bend area.
Yeah,
and stop it, and about this time of year they have 10 pine on draft, and it's pretty good stuff. So I like the beer. 5 pine and 10 pine.
It's good beer.
All right. Well, so far we've had the Mexican hot cocoa.
I'm curious what their total ingredient package is in that.
On the hot cocoa?
Yeah.
Yeah, you were saying you tasted something else in it. But this is by the Brewing Projekt. The Brewing Projekt. And again, Imperial Stout with chipotle peppers, chocolate, cinnamon, and vanilla. I don't know where these guys are at. What did you taste in it?
You know, it's probably not even in the beer, but now that you're saying it, with the vanilla and the pepper and the chocolate taste, it's really weird because it gives it. You did a beer a while back.
That was an expensive freaking beer.
That was probably the most expensive beer you've ever brewed.
Totally.
And what was that ingredient?
That was saffron.
Saffron. Had a very, very, very super florally note to it.
Yeah.
It was almost like eating flowers. Which was some of the people at work that you had loved it. The women loved it for some reason. But I'm catching hints of that in that hot chocolate one. And I'm wondering if it's just that mixture of chocolate and vanilla and pepper that gives it that note. But there's definitely a big punch of floral right after the first taste of it.
See, I don't get a ton of the floral, but I definitely get the cinnamon-y and then the pepper at the end. A lot of pepper. And then, like, the most crazy chocolate that I've ever had of a beer. Like
that chocolate's amazing.
Yeah. And then beer number 2 for us is Rogue's Chocolate Stout, but this is the Nitro
on the
version.
Nitro, yep.
Yeah, so that's a nice little beer. It's interesting, the Nitro doesn't play out like I would have thought it.
Not on that one.
Yeah. It's not like got that velvety, smooth thing to it.
And I'm wondering if it's because where we have it in the lineup.
Maybe.
Following that big chocolate peppery beer. And then getting that silky smooth flavor profile that you get from a nitro beer. It definitely feels more like it's thin than it does that silky smooth.
Yeah, it doesn't have that big, thick chocolate stout taste. It's kind of a thinner beer. And I think that's what it is for me, is that the beer itself, I think, is thin.
Yep.
And then they tried to nitro it.
And that it didn't do anything for it.
So it's got it like low on the body side. And
yep.
It's interesting. All right, well, let's tune in and see what's going on with Art Larrance and the Hillsbrew Fest. I'm with Art Larrance from the Oregon Brewers Festival, Cascade Brewing. Art, man, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Good morning. Let's talk about beer.
Indeed. Let's talk beer, man. So, Art, you have this Hillsbrew Fest on February 25th to the 27th at the Hillsboro Events Center. What made you want to do this? Why create a brew fest out in the west side?
Well, we have a great facility out in Hillsboro that Washington County has built, and I thought that it fit us ideally. We could go inside and have a beer festival inside and introduce people to some beers that they haven't tried before, specifically from Washington County. We got 7 beers that are local to Washington County. And Washington County is a real growing beer mecca right now, and we wanted to feature some of their beers and local food.
Fantastic. So tell us a little bit about the event space. So Hillsboro isn't known for having a big event space. Where's it at, and why'd you pick Hillsboro?
Well, it's nearly 40,000 square feet inside. It's a beautiful building. It's a year old or so, and it's ideal for a small festival. We've got parking, and you can take TriMet to get there. You can take the train to get there. There is on-site parking for $10. But we think that a lot of people will want to come out from downtown, take the train out, have some beers, get a ride home.
So that's fantastic. I mean, Hillsboro's kind of up and coming. You got the hops, you got that big football stadium out there, and now they got their brew festival out by the fairgrounds. So certainly helps that you got public transit right there too. So is this going to be like OBF, or is this totally different?
Well, we're not going to have tokens. You buy a little coupons, and you drink beer from that. We're going to have music. A group called the Denominators will be playing 3 nights. So you can do some dancing, and that's different than the Brew Fest. We'll have 3 local restaurants from Hillsboro. We'll have a Choa's Mexican food, Coyote's Bar, and Flying Barracuda Barbecue. Be nice choices. We also have 2 ciders. And for those that aren't drinking, we have Crater Lake root beer.
So the question of the interview, I mean, who's coming? What kind of beer are you going to have? How'd you select the beer?
Well, from Washington County, let me read off my list here. We have, of course, my brewery, Cascade Brewing. We have Ridge Walker from Forest Grove. We have 3 Mugs from Hillsboro, Vertigo from Hillsboro, Deep Space, Binary, Stickman, and Slow Drift from out at Gales Creek.
Oh, nice.
And then we also have Cooper Mountain. And then from down in the Willamette Valley, we have Parallel 45. And then we have some of the Deschutes, Good Life, Boneyard, Worthy, Wild Ride, Fort George, Pelican, Free, Little Beast, Coin Toss, Gigantic, Stormbreaker. These are all names that are familiar to you. Some of them will be bringing out a beer for the first time that they will be introducing at our beer festival.
That sounds fantastic. So I know we talked several years ago about what would make OBF better, and it's these one-off beers, and you've kind of taken it a step beyond, which is one-off beers, but Oregon brewers. So it's going to be great. I think this is going to be a fantastic festival. So where can we get tickets? How much?
Costs $30 to get in, and you get a sheet with 10. You can have 10 samples. Off of that, a sample is one ticket, which is $2, $6 for a 14-ounce glass, and it's $10 admission to get in.
All right, buddy. Well, Hillsbrew Fest, February 25th to the 27th, out in Hillsboro. Go to hillsbrewfest.com to pick up some tickets. Gary and I, of course, will be out there. Art, man, appreciate the time once again.
Thank you for interviewing me.
All right, man. Art Larrance, Hillsbrew Fest. You in?
I'm in.
You're in?
I'm in.
What about Tim?
Tim's probably not in because he thinks he's still in Hawaii.
He thinks he is, but he didn't read the freaking email or text.
He probably didn't go back and look at it.
No,
either.
he didn't.
He didn't.
I even sent the link to the Hillsbrew Fest.
No, I know.
Oh, well.
He doesn't pay attention to detail.
No, that guy. So, all right. Well, we got to buy those tickets. We got to go to the hillsbrewfest.com and pick those bad boys
We
up.
got to hope they're not sold out.
Yeah, and we probably should do that right after this interview here.
Very
or
definitely.
The podcast tonight. Not that interview, but
no,
podcast.
we already did the interview.
Yeah, so
it's already done.
All right, man. Well, let's jump into our favorite little segment.
We interrupt our program to bring you a special broadcast.
In the news.
Oh, yeah.
We're only a week removed, dude. There's not a ton of beer news in this world.
Oh, you want some great news?
Yeah.
You might already have it on there.
Breaking news.
But
breaking news.
Breaking would be that Guinness will do a non-alcoholic release of their beer in March in the United States.
Ooh. So they're doing a Guinness Stout, the dry stout?
Guinness Dry Stout, non-alcoholic.
Wow.
Crazy, huh?
I'm telling you.
It's crazy.
We talked about it here a few weeks ago. The Non-Alcoholic Brewers Association. It's happening.
It's happening huge.
Yeah, it is. I was over at John's yesterday, John's Market, and they've got a whole end cap that's non-alcoholic beer.
There's more and more of them popping up out there.
They got an end cap of gluten-free beer, too.
Whoa.
Whole end cap.
Hey, they can't be crowding out my business.
I'm telling you. You and Moon Shrimp, you guys are in it to win it. All right, so in the news, what do we got? Deschutes releases a non-alcoholic Black Butte.
There you go.
Isn't that timely?
Isn't that timely?
Got this from the brew site, and essentially the Black Butte Porter is going to be released here soon, and it's a non-alcoholic version. It's been 2 years in the making.
Yeah, and they say it tastes exactly like the Black Butte Porter without the alcohol.
Yeah, no, I mean,
which is crazy.
Now, the opposite of non-alcoholic beer is
kombucha,
imperial beer.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Stout month is returning for Fort George.
No way.
Not Dark Arts,
but Stout month.
So they've got a ton of stouts on tap for Fort George. And so essentially they're releasing all their big dark stuff they normally do for Dark Arts.
That's not in February, is it?
Yep.
Oh God.
We're not going. I'm only going back to Dark Arts.
Okay. All right.
If we're gonna go to a shit show and we're gonna totally get torn up, I'm gonna do it at the Dark Arts Festival. I want to be entertained.
Now the question is, will they ever do a Dark Arts again?
Oh, they will. They will.
That will be the question.
But they've got that whole club thing now where you've got to be a member and then they release tickets to them
first.
What's
up with that?
Yeah, well, I don't know. We've got to find a way in. All right, so on that same note of non-alcoholic beer, we're just swinging back and forth here. Imperial, non-alcoholic.
Yeah, that's two extremes.
How about a zero-carb beer?
Oh, let me guess. Budweiser came out with that.
Bud Light
releases there you go.
Next month. I'm guessing right around the Super Bowl. A zero-carb Bud Light. So, there you go. Going to try to tap into that market.
Trying to tap into the people. Very timely, too. You notice that?
I believe it was 20 calories totally.
So they roll out right at the beginning of the new year when everybody's got their whole, hey, I need to lose weight resolutions going on. And that's when they pop that beer.
I don't think they're dummies, man. I think they're smart dudes.
Oh, they're pretty smart.
Beer. So
they just don't have great beer.
And the last thing I've got is Denver is doing their collaboration festival. So they do a festival each year, and it's been off because of COVID.
Okay.
But it's what they tout as one of the biggest collaboration festivals in the country. And so on April 2nd, the Colorado Brewers Guild will be combining with regional, national, and international brewers to come up with the best collaborations and then serving them at their brew festival.
Wow.
Yeah. So tickets go on sale right this second.
Oh, figures.
Right this second. And the festival is April 2nd. So.
Okay, but here's my question.
Yeah.
The brewers that they're inviting for that are all pro brewers, I'll bet.
I didn't get a call.
They're all pro brewers.
I'm betting they do some sort of pro-am as well, so like a pro-amateur type thing.
That'd be interesting.
A lot of the brew stuff here, competitions, they'll do a pro-am.
Yeah.
And so they'll mix a pro guy here with an amateur.
Okay.
So I know the guys over at the Portland Beer Club podcast.
Yeah.
One of those guys has entered a pro-am a couple times. So
interesting.
Yeah. I mean, kind of cool stuff.
Yeah.
Going out to Denver or having somebody from Denver recognize you here, probably not happening.
Probably not unless you're a good brewer.
Unless you make a saffron beer.
Super expensive.
And they want to do a saffron collaboration.
They'll give that out as the winners each get a saffron bouquet beer.
Along with curry.
There you go.
You ever have curry beer?
Yeah, curry I'm not a big fan of.
Neither am I.
I'm
not a big fan of saffron either after that beer.
Can you imagine putting a curry and a saffron in the same beer?
Oh, no. Dude, all I know is I dumped out about roughly a case of that beer.
Why?
Because it was horrid.
You had buyers.
And I couldn't, I couldn't even,
the smell was...
Oh, it was horrid.
Every time... It took me probably a month after drinking that to clear that smell out of my nasal passages.
Yeah, I mean, the idea
here I couldn't
get
it out of there.
I was supposed to use just a small pinch of this saffron
crazy.
For this 6-gallon batch, and I was like, oh, bullshit. That's A teaspoon? That's nothing.
Okay, listeners, as you all know, probably every one of you know Jason. Either on a personal level, that's probably all of you, but for those occasionals that are not in the United States, you know him from the podcast. Jason doesn't do shit at normal levels.
I do stuff my way.
He does the Rogers way, which is usually like either double to triple the amount of what should be there.
Yeah. So I took the bottle of saffron and dumped it in the 6-gallon batch.
Like, meh, here we go.
It was $90 of saffron right into the batch.
Into a 5-gallon batch of beer.
Well, who would have thunk that a teaspoon would have been the right dose on
Pretty
that?
Powerful. Pretty powerful stuff.
Dude, I will never do it again. And I probably will never cook with saffron. So I did look up how to grow saffron.
Yeah, it's an orchid.
No.
Isn't it?
No, it's the little iris. No, not iris flowers. It's the crocus.
Crocus flowers.
Yeah, and so there's ones that come about right now.
And they've got very, very limited harvest times.
Yeah, their little stamens come out. They're little sex organs.
Yeah.
And as soon as their sex organs turn orange, like your jacket there,
you castrate it.
You snip them off. But you got to use some scissors.
That ain't orange.
Some scissors or tweezers.
Like little snippers?
Little tweezers to hold on to that.
You should probably be pretty good at that.
I'm very good. Just pitching the softball over and over until you swung at it.
There we go. Swinging for the fence, folks.
All right. That's all I got. Beer news. All right. Beer news. Did you learn anything there?
I learned a lot.
You learned about tweezers?
Tweezers. Saffron. Yeah.
Bud Light Zero Carb.
Bud Light Zero Carb. Pitching their softball at the right time.
I got an idea.
What's that?
We need to get a bottle of that Black Butte Porter.
Okay.
Non-alcoholic version. And we're going to try it side by side with a regular bottle.
I think that's smart.
We haven't done one of our foil ones in a while.
We
that
haven't.
would be a fun foil blind.
Make us both look stupid, like every other blind taste test
I'll
we've
be
done.
acting like a teenage schoolgirl, like acting like I'm drunk. Woohoo! And it's like, oh wait, that's non-alcoholic beer.
Ah, crap.
I'm so drunk. Woohoo!
So hammered.
Hey, idiot. That's non-alcoholic.
Okay, I
Classic.
think so. Yeah.
All right. Well, how's the beer going? So you still stuck?
You know, it never unstuck.
Oh.
Which really disappoints me. But here's what throws me through a loop. And anybody listening that knows anything about brewing, if you know what I'm going through, email us. Let us know. I'm really curious on this one. So I dumped 4 tablespoons of priming sugar in there to try and re-kickstart the fermentation. The gravity didn't change, which I didn't expect. I expected it to actually go up because of adding sugar. So it probably did that. We got a little bit of reaction because I saw some bubbling going on in the bubbler. But then it stalled out again. And it stalled out at 1.027. So I'm like, all right, fuck this. I closed the valve to see if anything was going on.
Yeah.
2 days later, opened the valve, and it damn near blew the cap off.
Really?
So there was something going on. But then as soon as it gassed off for like 2.5 minutes, then nothing again.
We need to get the tilt guy back on, because my tilt has I've got something going on with mine.
Yeah, there's something maybe going on with our tilts. I don't know, maybe we need to recalibrate or something. Yeah, but so I'm using it as an experiment batch now. It's from what I'm getting reading wise, it should be at about 3% ABV. So I said, okay, fuck that. We're going to do this. I'm going to close the valve off, and I'm going to put the beer under pressure. See what happens. See if it'll absorb that CO2 that it's producing, which I don't know why it's producing if the yeast isn't doing anything. And keep going from that route. And then I've dropped the temperature every day 5 degrees.
Ooh.
So I'm now at, I believe, 45 degrees. And I'm going to drop it till I get to 35 because what I'm looking for now is what's it take to drop all the sediment out of that beer? Yeast, everything. Just completely drop it out.
Yeah.
And by having it capped off, am I going to have enough CO2 in there that when I bottle it, it's just naturally carbonated?
Talk to me about your yeast. Where did you buy your yeast? What'd you do?
See, I bought the yeast at, where did I get that? East Side Steinbart's.
Oh.
Got it over at Steinbart's.
So it's a fresh yeast culture.
It was fresh yeast cultures. So I'm not
sure. Was it a dry
sure.
yeast or a...
No, wet yeast.
Wet
I used
culture?
Imperial pub yeast.
Oh.
Which is, that's 200 billion cell count, which is usually your normal pitch rate.
Did you aerate? Did you do
I
your
did.
oxygen?
I pumped oxygen into that thing. I did everything.
Did you add nutrients?
I did not add nutrient. And maybe that's what it was, but I've rarely ever had to add nutrient to enter my batches.
Interesting.
So the only thing I can think of is one of the things that you brought up before is maybe the pH is off. For some odd reason, maybe the pH was off.
I don't know. I mean, you're not doing anything with like tomato paste or lemon juice or anything like that.
No, but what I did do is I took Mecca Grades grains and I used one of their specialty grains, which is Opal 44, and I made that almost 100% of the grain bill, which they said you could do.
Right.
But my Opal 44 was over 6 months old.
So your starting gravity was what?
1.058 or 59.
And you're down to 2.7 or 2.4?
And I'm 1.027.
Yeah. Interesting. So you're about halfway through, probably sitting at 3%.
Yeah. Weird stall out point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, see what it does with what you're doing. I kind of think once you get done Mickey Mousing with what you're doing, I think we crack the top because you can crack it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And let's check a refractometer.
I'm going to do a refractometer reading on
and then
it.
I would also dip it with some pH paper.
I've got none of that.
I've got it.
Yeah.
So let's dip it and see what it comes back as.
Yeah.
And then you've ruled out two different things at that point.
Right.
I'd probably do a temperature reading just to make sure because you were having some issues with your thermostat.
With my
for a
thermostat.
while.
Yep.
So, and like my issue was my thermostat. Remember? Like I was talking
yes.
about? Yeah, and so as soon as I did that, I've had no issues.
Well, see, here's the really weird thing, Ian, is I've done the thermostat reading based off my ETC.
Yeah.
And I've checked that against
your tilt.
The tilt.
Yeah.
And they're dead on.
That's exactly what mine was doing,
they're
though. Remember?
Both dead on.
My Inkwell, my Thermowell, Inkbird Thermowell that was sitting in the thing was reading such and such, and then the tilt was reading. And I was like, what the heck? And it wasn't until I cracked it open and took a manual temperature that I was like, oh, it's sitting at 58 degrees.
So they were both off.
Yeah. So then I had to recalibrate everything.
Yep.
So yeah, and then I'm having issues with the gravity now on that tilt. So yeah, I think that is my tilt. I noticed that the gasket is all kind of junky. And I noticed, like, inside there's some condensation, like maybe it's getting a little moisture.
You might have a leak going, yep.
Yeah, and so I think I need to replace the little gasket thing.
Yeah,
but
Mine haven't had that issue yet, but you and I talked about a problem with the tilt that I was having when we had the tilt guy on originally, and it was about a 20-degree difference in my temperature.
That was mine recently.
Mine still does that.
Yeah.
Still does it, so I let it equalize, and then I go from there. That's when I usually pitch, is when the two agree when I'm supposed to pitch. So maybe it's because the tilt's needing recalibrated.
Maybe.
It's the only thing I can think of.
We'll have to take a look. I mean, I would crack it, but I would give it another week doing what you're doing and then see what it does.
I'm probably going to crack it on Saturday after I get back from mandatory training.
There's no reason that something with the right pH, enough sugar. I mean, yeast will ferment a bottle of apple juice sitting in the fridge if you let it sit too long. So,
Yeah.
like, it's the simplest process ever. So,
Well, and what even throws me worse, though, is I did the original pitch, gave it a couple weeks, then I pitched again.
yeah.
And it still didn't do anything.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, again, it's pressurizing. It's doing something because
It
you're
is
getting
now,
pressure.
yeah.
So, but I don't know. All right. We'll have to crack it open. Well, I've got a couple different things going. I have the vodka wash is still just doing its thing down there. So it's slowly trickling down. It's about a half of what it is. So I'm going to give it another week. And then I started a apple brandy wash today. So
Oh, really?
yeah, so that'll be like kind of just we had some apple juice that was going bad in the fridge before it turned to vinegar. I was like, let's see what I can do here. So
Well, now that's an interesting concept. So you've got this apple juice sitting in the fridge,
yeah,
and you're tasting it. You're like, it doesn't taste normal. It's starting to go bad. What's your timeline before that goes to vinegar that you can still use it to distill with to get alcohol out of it, not just get vinegar?
well, it tasted still good, but the bottle had that overpressurized feeling to it.
Oh, okay.
So
I
it's
get
fermenting
you.
in
It was
the
gassing.
bottle. Yeah.
Yep.
So it's going to ferment first, and then once it eats all the sugar, then it's going to go towards vinegar.
Gotcha.
And so we were getting a little bloat in the bottle. And so the idea was like, all right, let me chop up some other apples and then blend it with some other apple cider.
Okay.
And we live down the street from Oregon Heritage Farms, so fresh apple cider. And there you go. That's what we got. So we'll see how it goes. I'm just going to run kind of a small batch on it. I think I did a couple gallons on it.
Yeah.
So. Gravity came off at 1068. So we'll see how that goes on the way down. So it'll take a little while. That vodka wash I've got down there came off at 1068 as well. So some pretty high gravity stuff.
What yeast are you using on it?
The Daddy.
And he just seems to be picky lately.
Um,
Or has he been churning through it all?
No, I think he's getting a little long on the tooth, but I'm giving him a thing. I've got some turbo yeast I may dump in if things aren't moving quicker, but I'm giving Daddy the benefit of the doubt. But I do need to probably, I mean, those first half dozen fermentations with the Daddy.
So are you
was
reharvesting?
crazy. No.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I mean, I got like a 1 pound sack of yeast that came with this thing. So it's old. And,
Yeah, I got you.
yeah,
Okay.
So it's a couple years old now.
Yeah.
But, yeah. And then I've got makings for tequila coming up soon. So I bought a whole bunch of agave, and I'm going to small batch. I'm actually going to small batch it. So, yeah, I'm going to do that. Come on.
No, you can have that. You can have it all.
We have Cinco de Mayo coming up. We got to get that bad boy going. So, and if you remember, I still have that specialized tequila yeast I had to buy that was like $15 a satchel.
Yeah.
So,
Well, yeah, you got to use that.
yeah. So, all right, buddy. Well, I think that's all I've got for the night. So we huge thanks to Hollis over at Skookum, now Ever Grain.
Yes.
So, and huge thanks to Art Larrance. Again, we look forward to coming to the Hillsbrew Fest, and
It's going to be a blast.
it's going to be a blast. So try to pull Tim into it and maybe bring a couple buddies with us.
Yes.
We're going on Sunday. My only fear about Sundays is there going to be enough beer?
Maybe.
I think so.
Maybe.
I think so. I think we'll be fine. My only concern there is that people haven't had a lot of beer fests, so they're all going to show up and drink the hell out of it.
You know, they could. They could clean it completely out
Yeah.
before Sunday even shows up
So I want to be there opening
with
the
the COVID
doors.
stuff, right?
Opening doors Sunday,
All right.
and then we're just going hard.
No, because we both have to work Monday morning, unlike Tim.
Yeah, that's true. True story. I'm going to Cabo San Lucas like the week after that.
What?
Yeah.
Say it isn't so.
Going to learn how to make tequila from a little man in a back hallway somewhere.
I hope you did your research.
Why?
Because Cabo San Lucas is a freaking powder keg right now.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm speaking the universal language.
I'm hoping so.
Tequila. Timbeers.
Thanks for listening to the Portland Timbeers Podcast. Be sure to visit the Portland Timbeers Podcast on acast.com to join the conversation, access the show notes, and discover our fantastic bonus content. If you love the Timbeers Podcast, we'd love for you to subscribe, rate, and give a review on iTunes. Until next time, Timbeers.